The yellowish weeds were sparse, possibly due to overgrazing by herbivores or the extreme dry weather. He could only see the hard and gray-yellow grass roots with almost no visible grass. The grasslands and grass roots had been uprooted in some places, leaving only dry and deserted land. A gray-black rabbit jumped out of a sandy hole and sensitively looked at the surroundings. After seeing no threats, the rabbit bowed down and began drafting through the roots, as if preparing for the coming winter when all animals tried to store fat to survive the long hibernation. A tall figure appeared in the distance, holding a spear with a sharply cut head. The man crawled like a wild leopard and quietly approached the fat rabbit. The rabbit's feet trembled before it was killed, not just by a spear but flattened by it. The figure came close, and the rabbit's head was flattened but the fur remained undamaged. It was strung with a straw rope and hung on one of the barbs of the spear. The person was about to leave but suddenly stopped and bent down to look at the ground. As usual, he saw traces of footsteps on the slightly deserted grasslands running from west to east, as if something like a stake had been dragged along. The person knelt down and examined the long footprints, which continued moving elsewhere. The tall, dark man rubbed his fingers, raised his hand, and smelled it. He touched the dried blood on the ground, which still had a clear, bloody smell. The animal or person who left the blood could not have been gone for more than half a day. The man wondered whether the injured was an animal or a human. He licked his lips, and a pair of narrow black eyebrows revealed a cruel and greedy expression. His face, marked with a strange pattern, was fierce and murderous. A rabbit was too small to feed a family. He needed to find more food. Following the traces eastward, he arrived at a small grassy patch only 3 or 4 feet in radius. There was a depression in the middle of the grassland that could not be a water hole. The water was turbid and yellowish with muddy substances, and many wild grasses grew in it. Nearby was the only small hole less than a foot deep. This depression was the only water source within a 20-mile range. During times of water scarcity, everyone knew the importance of finding water. The man did not know if anyone else was there, perhaps exhausted or near death. It seemed as if he climbed to the side of the leeches, one hand inserted into them, but his mouth did not touch the water. The human body was naked except for a straw rope tied around the waist. From the exposed skin, the man appeared neither very old nor tall. His body was thin and skinny, with only a few round buttocks showing some flesh. Flies buzzed around him, and besides the flies, some unidentifiable insects had turned the man who had fallen near the waterside into a feast for days to come. Soon they would find a place on his body to open a buffer. The man had worms on his right leg. He had a large wound on his right leg, as if a beast had chewed his. The wound had received simple treatment, with the broken bone tightly tied with straw. Whether due to the hot weather or lack of medicine, the skin around the wound had rotted and begun to pus, with many white worms crawling up and down. A black beetle bit the rotten flesh on the leg, tearing it open with huge pincers and a sharp triangular head, attempting to drill into the fresh flesh inside. The man kneeling on the ground shivered and was suddenly awakened by the pain. Yanmo could not believe he had fainted. He had crawled for nearly a day before finding the water source, only to faint mid-struggle after falling into the leeches. Yanmo raised his body despite the throbbing pain in his right leg and moved the leg forward, burying it in the water. The water was not cold, but cool enough to reduce the temperature of his head after exposure to the sun. Yanmo did not drink the water from the hole. He only kept himself awake. Such dirty water was unfiltered, and with his injuries and illness, drinking it would cause serious problems. Before passing out, Yanmo had scouted a little and found animal footprints at the water's edge. With his years of medical experience, he judged the water quality as poor but unlikely poisonous. He had intended to scoop some water and let it settle before deciding how to drink it. Now, he likely had a fever from wound infection and could not wait for the water to settle. Unable to resist, Yanmo extended his head from the water. Thanks to the hot weather and desert climate, no aquatic life existed in the water hole except weeds. This had disadvantages. He wanted to find 2 leeches to help suck the blood around the wound. Leeches could be dried and ground into powder to treat bruises and fractures, but no such creatures existed in. Yanmo propped up his upper body and pulled away his injured right leg. He looked down and saw the black beetle had already plunged half its body into the wound. Instead of pulling it out with his fingers, he broke off a hard grass root and used it as a knife tip. He carefully opened his flesh and skin and stabbed the beetle embedded in the wound. When blood came out, Yanmo reached into the water, scooped some muddy water from under the yellow sand, and splashed it on the wound. This was the most rudimentary and effective method to stop bleeding. All the little bugs eating the wound were washed off, leaving only white aphids that consumed dead cells. The surrounding insects fled, and the rest were temporarily managed. Yanmo's mouth twitched slightly, revealing a ridiculous smile. Dragging his legs, He scooped another puddle of water containing many impurities. He wanted to wait for it to settle completely, ideally using equipment to let the water settle for a day. Water with high salt content should not be used to relieve thirst, as it would make him thirstier later, but he had no choice. He pondered whether it was better to be thirsty now or later, to die of thirst or risk drinking unclean water. Yanmo found a relatively clean spot, rubbed the dust on the water's surface visible to the naked eye, and filtered it with his fingers. He licked his lips and drank. The strange water flowed down his throat, moisturizing his body. Despite the difficulty swallowing, he took sips to temporarily relieve thirst and replenish water. After drinking, he rested for a while, ignoring the pain in his leg since no better treatment was available. Looking up at the water, the reflection rippled, but he could see his appearance. His hair was a mess of straw, half-length, and his scalp itched. He did not know how many lice infested it. Touching his still smooth face, he noted the chin had no beard, suggesting youth. Judging by his skin, which was thin enough to feel bones, Yanmo guessed the body's age was between 12 and 16 years old. The estimate was uncertain due to the unclear face and the harsh environment, as desert inhabitants reached puberty earlier. He thought it would be nice to have a knife, and even better to have a lighter. Yanmo forbade himself from worrying about his situation. He only had a straw rope around his waist and a makeshift grass pocket covering his crotch, protecting his scrotum. He wore this crude Tarzan-style crotchwear out of necessity. The straw rope and grass pocket were essential because he had to crawl on the deserted grass, fearing injury to his private parts. Although the grass pocket prevented direct contact with the ground, the burrs and hardness of the weeds still scratched and bruised him. Yanmo guessed that he had been abandoned due to his inability to walk from injury and infection. The lack of clothing suggested that whoever discarded him believed he would not survive. The absence of clothes implied that the person thought there was no need to leave him with possessions if he was going to die. Yanmo reflected on how pitiful it was that even dead people were not given clothes by ordinary people. He also considered the possibility that he had been kidnapped and discarded because he was useless to the kidnapper, who might have taken his clothes to avoid leaving clues for the police. Yanmo hoped that if this were true, he might still have a chance to return to modern society. However, looking at his tanned skin, which was neither naturally black nor brown or yellow, and his rough ankles and palms, he appeared to be someone who had not done much manual labor. His appearance suggested he might have been a rich boy who was kidnapped. Yanmo concluded that he must have ended up in a particularly poor place with unusual customs, where people might not understand the legal system or where sinister criminal camps existed. Regardless, the situation was terrifying. Yanmo screamed and slammed his head into the water again, this time shampooing his hair. His scalp itched intensely, and he could feel blood-sucking black bugs crawling across it. If he had a knife, he would have shaved his head. He pulled his head out of the leech-infested water, finally relieving the itchiness. Now he could begin to think about survival. Yanmo planned to carefully examine the small grassland for herbs that could stop bleeding and reduce inflammation. He hoped to find hard shrubs to replace the weed crotch covering and to help splint his broken bones. He also needed a weapon for defense. Evening was approaching, and wild animals would soon come to drink at the water. Without weapons or fire, he would be vulnerable to attack. He resolved to leave before dark, as staying was too dangerous despite the water source. Yanmo scanned the grassy beach and found no shrubs, only weeds. He crawled forward, focusing on the deeper weeds, hoping to find useful herbs. Suddenly, a black spear stuck into the earth in front of him. Yanmo froze, then felt a surge of excitement. Someone was nearby. A man stood behind him, blocking his path with the spear. The man's eyes swept over Yanmo's bare back and buttocks. He covered his own crotch with an empty hand, as if deciding whether to kill the boy immediately or rope. The man judged that the boy, wounded as he was, had an 80% chance of dying soon. If not dead or eaten by animals, bringing him back would be a waste of food. Yanmo tried to prop himself up and look back at the man. They saw each other's faces. Yanmo's face was clean despite his wounds, and he looked like a handsome boy. The man's gaze was predatory, as if he saw Yanmo as nothing more than a piece of meat. Yanmo realized this was a savage land. Despite the man's good physique, his savage and bloodthirsty nature was evident. The man had a tattoo on his face and wore only a piece of animal skin around his waist. Yanmo thought no modern person would dress like that. He felt murderous rage, sensing the man intended to kill him. Just as the man moved to strike, Yanmo forced a sultry, coquettish. The man reached for Yanmo's neck but stopped. He considered giving the boy a merciful death by snapping his neck. Although he had planned to leave immediately, it was late and the sun was setting. He had to return to his tribe. The grassy land was unsafe at night, Yanmo begged for food and promised to work like a cow in exchange. The man did not understand his words, but was charmed by the boy's cute face and smile. He considered taking Yanmo home to care for him, thinking the boy might be useful even if disabled, like reserving food for winter. Yanmo said he had no family and promised to repay any kindness. Before he could finish, the man slashed his neck with a spear and Yanmo fainted. He felt pain in his neck and right leg. He was hungry and thirsty, but dared not move or seek food. His wrists were tied to a pole, forcing him to lie stretched out on the ground. Yanmo was confined in a simple grass shed covered with hay. The walls were sparse enough to see sunlight outside. The shed was about 40 square meters divided into 2 rows. Some spaces were occupied by living animals, which contributed to a foul smell that made Yanmo. He had hoped to be saved, but upon waking, realized his situation was worse than death. Half an hour earlier, a dark man lay unconscious on a wooden stake 2 feet away. The man was injured, bleeding from the head, and never woke. Soon after, a strong man with a slightly protruding belly entered. He circled the shed, stopped at the unconscious man, slapped him, and seeing no response, untied him and dragged him out with one arm. Yanmo nearly fell asleep, but woke to see the scene outside. A small square lay beyond the shed, with a large wooden stake in the center and an axe. People worked around the square, weaving weeds, cooking, and pickling. When the strong man entered, Yanmo wanted to ask for water or food, but wisely remained silent after seeing the man's cold, pitiless gaze. The strong man dragged the unconscious man to the stake, placed his head on it, and lifted the axe. Yanmo's heartbeat quickened. Without hesitation, the man brought the axe down, severing the unconscious man's head. Blood spurted out. The surrounding men and women watched casually, showing no reaction to the brutal execution. Yanmo, a doctor, was accustomed to blood and gore, yet he nearly cried out upon witnessing the scene before him. He remained silent and held his breath as the brawny man smashed the head of the comatose individual. Yanmo watched as the man's body fell beside a wooden pillar, and the dead man was dismembered with an axe. The strong man cut open the corpse and pulled out the unwanted internal organs. Yanmo resisted the urge to vomit as the comatose man was chopped into pieces and divided into 3 wooden basins, which were carried away by different men and women. The brawny man placed the inedible intestines and other organs into a woven basket and threw them to the carnivore's still. Yanmo felt a sharp pain in his neck and head, so intense that he could barely endure it. The brawny man noticed Yanmo's eyes and was displeased. As he passed by, he deliberately kicked Yanmo's injured right leg. Yanmo screamed, causing flies and mosquitoes to scatter briefly before returning. The brawny man showed no mercy and exited the straw shed. Outside, the sounds of shouting and drinking from the brawny men could be heard. Gradually, Yanmo lost awareness of the outside world and fainted once more. Yanmo dreamed of standing near a fire. The dream was long and vivid, blurring the line between dream and memory. He realized it was not from his past life, but rather the original memories of the young man whose body he now inhabited. Yanmo accepted that he had died and transmigrated into another person's body. He understood that integrating another's memories was uncomfortable, but was grateful the boy was only 14 years old. Had the body belonged to an older man, the overwhelming memories might have caused his mind to collapse or altered his personality drastically. The fusion of memories proved useful, granting Yanmo a general understanding of his current environment and the ability to comprehend the language of nearby tribes. Unfortunately, the teenager had limited knowledge. The boy's name was Blackbird, named after an auspicious animal believed to predict a bountiful harvest. Blackbird was born in the Salt Mountain tribe, a place likely known for salt production. Yanmo deduced this from the tribe's name and the presence of a salt cave, which made their trade prosperous compared to other tribes. However, the tribe had been targeted by stronger tribes and lost their salt cave 5 days prior, forcing them to flee. Blackbird had been bitten by a wild beast during the tribe's migration and was abandoned due to infection and fever. His parents and older brothers had left him behind, a common practice in their harsh society where only contributing members were valued. The surrounding tribes were poor and brutal, with customs including cannibalism during harsh winters. Powerful tribes would attack weaker ones, turning captives into bacon and enslaving a few survivors. There were also large cities formed by merged tribes, divided into upper, middle, and... After absorbing these memories, Yanmo stared silently at the shack for a long time. Suddenly, a large hand flicked away a fly and grabbed his hair. Yanmo's expression shifted from stiffness to a reluctant acceptance despite the pain. The fierce man was surprised that Yanmo was still alive. He examined Yanmo's right leg, which was severely infected and covered with worms, pus, and mosquito bites. The stench of rot and urine was overwhelming. No one in the tribe would heal a near-dead person or clean such a wound. Yanmo was shocked by the severity of his injury, and estimated it had been about 2 days since the wound occurred. Without medical treatment, such an injury would be fatal or require amputation. Yet, upon waking, Yanmo noticed that beneath the pus, the flesh was still fresh and the blood flow normal, offering hope for recovery if treated properly. However, the constant pain was unbearable, even in a coma. He could not express this to the fierce man and instead showed gratitude with a sincere expression. Before Yanmo could finish, the man pulled his hair and dragged him out of the straw shed. Yanmo felt pain but dared not resist. He pleaded desperately not to be killed, though his speech was halting. The man stopped, threw Yanmo to the ground, stepped on his chest, and bent over him. He remarked that he had not seen Yanmo the previous day, and had heard from another man that Yanmo was to be slaughtered. The man had intended to save Yanmo's heart before the slaughter, but was surprised to find him alive. Yanmo tried to convince the man that he could be useful and begged for his life. The man questioned what Yanmo could do and inspected his only clothing, a straw belt and pocket, which had been pulled down. He declared that Yanmo's right leg was rotten and must be cut off for him to survive. The man expressed a preference for a 40-year-old wife over a slave with a broken leg, emphasizing the harshness of their environment. Yanmo pleaded against amputation, claiming knowledge of herbal medicine and promising to heal himself. The man was skeptical but asked which tribe Yanmo was from. Yanmo replied, "Salt Mountain," though his throat was dry and his condition miserable. The man sneered, stating he knew the Salt Mountain priest and his disciples but did not believe Yanmo was one of them. Yanmo insisted he understood herbal medicine and begged for 7 days to prove his healing ability, promising repayment if successful. The man was reluctant, citing the approaching winter and the cost of food and effort required to care for Yanmo and gather herbs. Yanmo swore he would repay the man and do many things once healed. The man grabbed his hair again, observing the child's dirty but not lifeless face. He considered that with a few days of care, Yanmo might indeed be able to support himself. The man was hesitating. He gave his only slave quota to the kid. The man could not acquire another slave before climbing to the third-rank fighter. He would suffer a big loss if a tribe behind sold more beautiful and healthy men and women, although this kid did not want money. The man had to post the kid before he was injured, and now he was hurt like this. In the short term, the kid would not be able to do even the most menial of work. Yanmo was also desperately searching for a chance to live. The man wondered if no one had sold slaves in the near future. The tribe did not seem to have a war going on, and if there was no war, naturally there would be no slaves. The man wanted a slave that belonged to himself for a long time. The appearance of this kid was also quite good for his appetite. The man thought the kid just needed to put a little meat on those bones. Yanmo turned around the straw shed over and over again during the man's hesitation. He noticed some weedy plants on the ground and under the wall, but most of them he did not even know. Yanmo did not know if he recognized the plants he saw. On the first day he came here, Yanmo was skeptical because he saw few creatures such. He tried to think in a good direction. Yanmo had not found a herb he was familiar with, which was too strange. Herbal medicines basically had certain medicinal value as long as they could grow from the ground. Yanmo had been studying herbs for many years and could recognize even the generally used and relatively special ones. He wondered if the earth here was really different. Suddenly, Yanmo saw a wild grass figure exposed behind the straw shed. He finally saw a matching herb with his own memory. The more Yanmo saw the wild grass, the more he liked an herb he knew. The man looked at Yanmo and was about to tell him his decision. Yanmo had already called out, pointing to a big plant. The man's gaze followed Yanmo's finger. Yanmo explained that the plant was a kind of herbal medicine that could eliminate inflammation, stop bleeding, and reduce fever. He asked if the man could take him to look at it, hoping to use it now. Yanmo stuttered while speaking, but the man seemed to understand. When Yanmo pointed to the wild grass and shouted it could be used to stop. The man lifted Yanmo and pulled him behind the straw shed. The man asked if Yanmo meant that plant and threw him to the ground again. Yanmo, tortured by broken bones, took a breath of cold air and bit his teeth tightly to prevent himself from fainting again. He held up his upper body and dragged his legs close to the weeds. The edge of the leaf was tooth-shaped, and the tip of the leaf was like a sawtooth needle tip. It had white silky hair, and the stems and leaves were alternate. Yanmo recognized it as the Cirsium plant. Behind the shed, there was more than one plant, and the scattered ones grew in small parts. Yanmo reached out and touched the blades of the Cirsium plant and exhaled a long breath. He worried that this was really a desert area. Even if the place where people lived was sand, it was okay. And the plant growing indicated that the soil and water here were not really bad to the point of being only sand. Yanmo stared at his right palm and solidified his eyes. He wanted a knife, fire, pot, and clean water to deal with a little wound. A book-shaped light appeared in the center of his palm and recorded this sentence for 5 seconds before closing up, showing a line of cursive characters on the cover, The Guide to Banishment. Men did not really believe in teenagers. They had priests in their tribes but had never told them that weeds of this shape were useful. On the contrary, because the weeds were toothy and the leaves were sharp, they all classified them as thorns. Cutting the scrubs in the tribe generally caused the slaves to remove the weeds. The man watched the surprised expression on the teenager and thought it seemed like. He considered letting Yuan Mo try this weed. If it was really useful, it would be good for their tribe. If it was useless, it would be his own failure. The man slowly said he would give Yuan Mo this opportunity, but only this opportunity. If Yuan Mo dared to lie, the man would treat him as live meat and cut a piece of meat from his body every day until he ceased to breathe. Yuan Mo quickly regained his gaze on his right hand. He bet that this was definitely not meant to intimidate him. The man would definitely do it. Unconsciously clenching his right hand, Yuan Mo raised his head and piled up a grateful and flattering smile. He swore he was telling the truth and asked if the master could give him a drink first. Yuan Mo got a scoop of water and resisted swallowing it in one go, drinking slowly. While Yuan Mo was drinking water, the man spoke to the fat dog coming over and took something from the weedgrass rope on his waist to the brawny man with a slightly convex belly. The fat dog nodded and stuffed it, then went straight into the straw shed and picked up a seriously wounded beast that looked like a dog with a broken limb. The man looked at Yuan Mo, who drank the water from the wooden scoop. He took the wooden scoop and picked up the blood from the beast's neck, handing it to Yuan Mo again. The man told Yuan Mo to drink. Yuan Mo endured nausea and silently held the wooden scoop to drink the blood of the beast inside. He did not know if his body had become accustomed to this kind of diet. Yuan Mo found that, although it was psychologically unacceptable, he did not have nausea or vomiting sensation. During this time, the man went to pick up the leaves of the cursium plant and gave them to Yuan Mo to hold. Wiping his lips, Yuan Mo expressed his sincere gratitude to the man. He was the same man who pulled his hair, but he thanked him anyway. The man grabbed Yuan Mo's arm, rubbed his broken leg, and changed the iron shackle into. Yuan Mo thanked him in his heart. He had been shackled before and knew the uncomfortableness of it. If the man dared to take him away, Yuan Mo would spit on him if he was not good. It was not comfortable to be pulled by the armpit, and Yuan Mo endured the pain and watched the surrounding scene as he was dragged. Yuan Mo's first impression of this tribe was that it was not harmonious. In the square, the man said 2 words in addition to the fat dog. The men and women around him did not even look at him, so naturally no one greeted him. From the square, Yuan Mo could see a very large fence. The people here lived in tents built with animal skins. The fences were like planned housing. There was a dirt road in the middle that could accommodate 2 carriages. There were tents on both sides of the dirt road. Yuan Mo saw some people at the mouth of the tent and on the road, but he did not see the man and anyone talking to each other, and no one was talking to him. Most of the pedestrians were walking, and the people sitting in the tent were busy with various activities. The square was in the middle of the fence. The tents in the fence below the square were quite simple and small, but the tents above the square were much larger and neat. The man did not go long, and Yuan Mo was dragged as they entered a path. Yuan Mo sneaked into the tent, which was the better tent among all. It looked like the Kingsworth, and warriors in leather skirts guarded the door. Yuan Mo guessed that the foot of the mountain was the residence of the poor and the slaves. The higher one went along the residence, the higher the household status. The man who turned home shortly after passing the square obviously had a status in this tribe. Yuan Mo looked all the way. After turning in from the path, starting from the first row of tents along the big dirt road, the man's tent was located in the 4th row and the last row. The spacing of each row of tents was equal, just like army barracks, but the men and women who were busy working in front of the tents were normal with no distinction. Most of the people here only had a leather skirt or a grass skirt covering the bottom, and the women were naked on the upper body. The children ran around in red strips, and a few old people were also naked. The tent area was not completely quiet. The children's screams and those of the adults echoed intermittently. Yuan Zhan heard some screams coming from various tents. He was greeted by someone who questioned him about the meat he was supposed to bring. Yuan Zhan took Yuan Mo to the door of his tent and explained that the meat was not dead, so he had to bring it back alive. A man slightly shorter than Yuan Zhan, with a tattoo on his face, approached them. He had a large shackle hanging under his leather skirt, which swayed heavily. The man expressed disappointment, poking Yuan Mo's face and questioning the usefulness of bringing back a hurt slave. Yuan Zhan opened his tent, pulled aside the curtains, and casually remarked that the slave did not want money but offered free service. The man changed the subject, saying he had come to find something to take with him. Yuan Zhan bypassed Yuan Mo, took a slate from a large stone tank outside the tent, and poured water onto Yuan Mo's injured leg. The cold water shocked Yanmo back to reality, causing him to groan. Yuan Zhan ignored his pain and poured water over the wound, his hands going straight to it. Yanmo screamed in pain. Yuan Zhan showed no concern and proceeded to enter his tent. The man called out to the next tent for Cao Ting, a female slave with nothing on her body, to come over and clean Yanmo without wasting water. Cao Ting, a gentle female slave of unknown age, took over the task, and Yuan Zhan, pleased to be lazy. The tent contained few items. Large stones formed the base at the innermost part, with straw and fur serving as beds. A large square stone in the middle acted as a table, and people sat cross-legged around it without stools. 2 spears hung on the wall, along with several sharp bones and leather skirts. Piles of bones and fur were stacked near the corner behind the curtain, giving the tent a strange smell. The man asked why, sitting cross-legged. Yuan Zhan smiled and explained that despite Yanmo's injury, he did not kneel but smiled, indicating he would be a patient slave in the future. The man considered this and glanced at Yuan Zhan. Yuan Zhan's eyes sagged slightly before he asked what the man was looking for. The man's expression turned angry as he explained that the tribe had called the third rank. The sites overlapped with others' hunting areas, and if the elders agreed, they would have to fight for them. However, those areas had little oil and water, and the tribe lacked people. The chance of a level beast wrestling was even harder for someone to become a third-rank fighter. Yuan Zhan knocked on his knee, acknowledging that it was not just about upgrading, but about securing enough food for the winter. The man agreed and added that if Yanmo could not survive, Yuan Zhan could kill him in winter and keep the meat without sharing. Yuan Zhan asked if the man had come just to complain about his slave. The man leaned closer and lowered his voice, implying he had another reason for coming. At the tent's mouth, Yanmo entered with Yuan Zhan and smiled at Cao Ting. He revealed that he had learned healing from the priest. Cao Ting, gentle and kind, noticed Yanmo's cold sweat and pain and wiped his face. She asked why someone trained as a healing disciple had been brought back as a slave. Yanmo explained that he was from the Salt Mountain people, whose family had been robbed by the Ji people during migration, and Cao Ting understood his fate and showed sympathy and helplessness. She asked his name, and he replied, Yanmo. Cao Ting decided to call him Little Mo, and he called her sister Cao Ting. Yanmo, ignoring his actual age, tried to take advantage of his youthful body. He asked Cao Ting to help him boil a pot of water. Cao Ting explained that the fire pit and water tank were outside the tent for fire prevention. The pot was a large hollowed stone pot, heavy but easily handled by Cao Ting. Yanmo inquired about a knife, and Cao Ting promised to bring a carefully polished stone knife from inside the tent. Yanmo hesitated to ask for a needle, doubting they would understand the word. Cao Ting asked what else he needed. Yanmo requested wood, specifying that sticks would suffice if planks were unavailable. Cao Ting asked about the size and said she would seek permission from barren for large wood pieces. Yanmo roughly planned the size and tied a straw rope with Cao Ting. He also asked for some salt. Cao Ting explained that salt was scarce and required barren's permission. She found a wooden stick easily, but whispered outside the tent to call her master for salt. The man returned with Yuan Zhan, and upon hearing Yanmo's needs, took the salt from the tent himself. The man left Cao Ting with Yuan Zhan and went to another tent. Yuan Zhan gave the salt to Cao Ting and took a spear to go out. The day was not yet dark, and he wanted to see if he could find extra prey and fruit. Bringing Yanmo back meant he had to give 20% of the meat to the horde to feed the extra mouth. While waiting for the water, Cao Ting explained to Yanmo that the tribe's warriors were ranked up to 4th rank, with only the 4th. The 3rd rank fighters took turns hunting and delivering prey to the tribe according to assigned weights. When not their turn, warriors could hunt independently, but had to give 20% of the prey to the tribe and keep 80%. The system seemed fair, but the beasts around the horde were powerful and could not be hunted alone. The nearby beasts were scarce, and hunting grounds were divided by level, with lower ranks having fewer beasts. Sometimes, warriors not on rotation joined forces to hunt, but only within assigned hunting ranges or unassigned strange places to protect the tribe's survival interests. Civilians without combat power, including the old and weak, handled other chores. Slaves were divided into 2 categories. Those belonging to the tribe who did the hardest work and were often reserved as food in winter, and those owned by warriors above 2nd rank. Warriors could have 1 slave at 2nd rank and 2 at 3rd rank, with higher ranks allowed more slaves and wealth. Slaves owned by the warriors were treated better than tribe slaves and could live better than civilians under benevolent masters, but suffered greatly under cruel ones. The rations distributed by the tribe did not go to the slaves. He had to feed them on his own if the warriors wanted to keep slaves. Yanmo's master was called Yuan Diao. He explained that only the warriors in the tribe could bear the tribe's surname, and their tribe was named the Yuan tribe. Yanmo mentioned that the Yuan tribe had lived in the grassland and the margin of the desert for hundreds of years and was one of the larger tribes nearby. He also acknowledged that Cao Ting came from the Salt Mountain tribe, which was bigger than their original tribe, and that they had transactions with that tribe, likely to meet on trading days in the... Yanmo understood Cao Ting's good intentions and reminded him of certain matters. He thought that as long as the Ji people did not come to him, he would not care for them. Cao Ting asked curiously whether herbs were being used. Yanmo confirmed this and explained that his master Yuan Zhan did not have equipment suitable for grinding work, so he improvised with. The water was boiling when Yanmo put the stone knife in to cook. He boiled the stone knife in some salt water. Yuan Zhan provided a coarse salt containing many minerals, yellowish-black in color, which could not be used directly even after cooking and had to be filtered. Yanmo then used the stone knife sterilized by boiling water to scrape pus and dead tissues from the wound, including worms that ate at the rotten tissues. Yanmo was in so much pain that his hand was shaking, but no one there could help him. Cao Ting did not dare to assist and could not even bear to look at the wounds. They were desert land people, but not everyone could be a healer. This slave appeared to be someone not only used to seeing blood, but also calm and steady-handed, which was crucial. Cao Ting asked why Yanmo boiled the stone knife in the water. Yanmo replied that it was for disinfection. He scraped off all the dead tissues and dirt attached to the wound and was about to wash the wound with filtered salt that... Yanmo looked up at Cao Ting, but Cao Ting, busy grinding burrs on a stick, did not notice the change in his palm. Suddenly shouting came from a distance, growing closer and running toward them. Someone ran over and shouted loudly at the tent next to Yuan Zhan's. A woman rushed out of the tent and ran as he followed. 2 children ran out of the tent and followed along. In a short while, a screaming cry of Dahi sounded. A bloodied man carried another bloody man. Yanmo went to look, followed by several people behind him, one holding a spear stained with blood. The woman and 2 children cried as they ran. Several people ran into the tent the woman had exited, and Yanmo vaguely heard someone shouting whether the injured had been to the healer. Someone replied that they already had. Cao Ting covered her mouth and squatted down. She said that the injured was the 3rd-rank warrior Dahe. Seeing him so badly hurt, she did not know if he could be saved, and if not, his family would be in a bad situation later. Yanmo returned his gaze to Dahe, who had a broken leg with the bone poking out of the skin and possibly injuries in the abdomen as the bleeding was severe. According to the blood flow, if the bleeding was not stopped within an hour, Dahe would die. Yanmo considered that this might be an opportunity for him, but it did not come at the best time. He bowed his head and pretended to unwittingly spread his right palm where a book appeared again. The open book was lit with content similar to the last time, stating that teaching others knowledge reduced scum value by 1 point, with a total scum value. Yanmo wondered what this was and what use it had. If someone else who was informed saw such a thing appear in their palm, they might be freaked out. But Yanmo, who had worked on billions of households and was committed to making himself a good person, trying to improve, make money, and spend time learning, drilling, and working, had never played N. He barely watched TV except for the news and rarely went to the movies. He knew about soul rebirth, but suffered from the fact that several children in movies and news had committed suicide to cross over. Yanmo always felt that his time was insufficient, as if he lacked time. He could not understand why young people wasted so much time on the internet and trivial matters like love. If those people wasted time gave their extra lives to him, his achievements before death would be greater, and he might use those extra lives to become richer and more powerful. Perhaps. Despite being lonely and ignorant, he had heard that the local government judge had a merit book recording all creatures in the world. He wondered if the thing appearing in his right palm belonged to the same series, whether it was a warning or a prison guard. Seeing such a thing, Yanmo was not excited, but felt anger controlled and monitored by others. He sneered at the word scum that appeared in the Banish Guide. According to his grandmother, he was not a good omen when born. Although he felt honest and kind as a child, everyone said otherwise. Memories of the past made Yanmo grim and hateful of his current life. He disliked recalling the past, especially the 20 years before. He hated himself and everyone he met during that time. Since age 20, Yanmo told himself he would not allow future regrets. Sometimes people took wrong steps, felt wrong, and could not turn back, only knowing it was wrong and continuing forward. He always knew he had gone the wrong way, that his outlook on life, values, and morality were ruined, but he stubbornly refused to admit mistakes or sins until he lost most of his goodness. Now, he was willing to exchange all treasures to return to that time. He suddenly recalled the words he had cursed and insulted God with before he died. He could not remember the exact words, but recalled mentioning God's penis and cursing God as unfair, questioning why retribution was brought to innocent heads. That anger was his last vent and only regret. He wondered if that curse had anything to do with his transmigration, and if the banishment guide appearing in his palm implicitly indicated something. He had now reduced his scum value by 2 points. He wondered what would happen if he reduced it by 100 million points and what God planned for him. Yanmo was a realistic person who did not think God would make him save the world. He had to make a copy of his guide to record his merits. Regardless of who brought him to this world, the other party must have a purpose. Yanmo said to his right hand in Chinese that he needed a promise. Cao Ting looked up at him and asked what he said. Yanmo smiled weakly and said it was a few spells the old priest had given him to speed up injury healing and drive away disease. Cao Ting apologized for bothering him, but Yanmo reassured her that she had not interrupted. He then asked his right hand for a promise, stating that if he honestly stayed in this world and transformed, reaching 0 scum, what would be given to him. The page did not respond and did not seem to have the function of communication. Yanmo was not discouraged and muttered to himself about the guide and the book, questioning why it ignored him and demanding to see the directory. He noticed that the book responded by turning several pages and stopping at a page titled Directory. Yanmo only glanced at it briefly and judged that most of the guides could help him find the answer he wanted. He took a deep breath, pressed his right hand, and let go of his suspicion before continuing to deal with his injuries. The guide seemed to sense when Yanmo was watching it, disappearing automatically when he gripped his right hand. Yanmo scraped away the rotten flesh, revealing fresh flesh and blood beneath. He picked up a wooden scoop that had been boiled, took a spoonful of salt water, and sipped it, feeling that the concentration was still adequate. Suddenly, Yanmo trembled as his neck and head blood vessels swelled, and his 5 senses twisted in pain. Cao Ting was terrified and sat down on the ground before rushing over to ask what had happened to Yanmo and what he had done. Yanmo, sweating, leaned on the water tank to restore his balance. He knew he could not avoid the pain, but without drugs, a certain concentration of salt water could help with blood clotting and disinfection. His wounds had been infected for too long, and even though they looked new, he dared not ignore the pain. Cao Ting did not understand why Yanmo was torturing himself by scraping his own flesh and pouring salt water on. She wondered if this treatment was taught by the Salt Mountain priest, whom she considered crueler than the old priest of the Yuan tribe. She felt pity for Yanmo, thinking that not only would he be a slave, but he would also have to endure such suffering. Cao Ting had no idea how Yanmo could heal his broken leg, but she hoped he could recover well. Otherwise, it would be disastrous if he died like other slaves. The screams from Yanmo did not attract others' attention, as many slaves were screaming for various reasons. Moreover, the crying from the Dahi tent was loud enough to cover nearby noises. Yanmo sat up straight and positioned his right leg correctly. Despite not having eaten for 2 days, he felt compelled to lie down and could not move much, but a strange energy seemed to support him. Thirst, hunger, pain, and dizziness persisted, as if someone harbored deep hatred against. Yanmo, sweating, looked up lazily and raised his left hand, pointing his middle finger at the blue sky. Cao Ting thought Yanmo was continuing to cast a spell. 4 tall, dark-skinned, tattooed warriors accompanied an old man holding a scepter and a teenager as they walked down a small road. Yanmo turned his head and guessed the identity of the old man. As soon as Cao Ting saw the old man, her expression changed. Yanmo, sitting on the water tank, lowered his face and instructed her not to move and to. Cao Ting spoke slowly and quickly, following Yanmo's instructions, and made him kneel while waiting for the old man and the warriors to pass by. None of the 6 people walking past glanced at them. Cao Ting turned slightly sideways and secretly watched the old man enter the Dahe tent. She sighed with relief and relaxed her hand that had been suppressing Yanmo. Yanmo slowly sat up with Cao Ting's support and asked who the old man was. Cao Ting explained that he was the priest and his disciple. She advised Yanmo that when he saw warriors, priests, elders, or chiefs, he must bow down and not look up at them. If he could not bow, he should lie down or squat and pretend to be dead. Yanmo asked what would happen if he did not comply. Cao Ting looked at him mercifully and said that even his master could not prevent punishment. Yanmo inquired about the nature of the punishment, and Cao Ting replied that it depended on the priest's mood at the time. Yanmo thought about the evil slavery society. Even if he were not a slave, the old priest's face did not look generous, and offending him would bring no good consequences. Yanmo asked quietly if the priests could treat injuries in Dahe. Cao Ting confirmed that they could. Yanmo was surprised, realizing the priest's medical skills were more powerful than he had thought. Cao Ting expressed sadness, explaining that Dahe was so badly injured that even if saved, he might no longer be a warrior. She worried about what Dahi's wife and children would do if he could not continue as a warrior. Yanmo asked why Dahi could not be a warrior again. Cao Ting looked at him strangely and explained that Dahi's bones were so badly damaged that even if his hand was not cut off, he could not use it to carry weapons. The priests could not treat broken bones, so Yanmo still had some value. However, the priest was not as skilled as Yanmo, and if he sought treatment elsewhere, he might not receive a reward and could be hated by the priest. These powerful people were used to being worshipped and would not be happy to be outdone by a young boy. Yanmo imagined an old professor highly respected in medicine encountering a case he could not handle, only to have an intern claim he could cure it easily. This would cause the professor to lose face and look at the intern differently. Yanmo wondered if he could count on others to worship him immediately. He realized he had to pray that the old professor was kind, generous, open-minded, and truly good. He had never encountered such a person before, and the lessons were sufficient. The old priest, with his experience in reading people, was unlikely to be broad-minded. Therefore, Yanmo decided not to take the lead this time, and honestly focus on treating his own injuries first. Cao Ting wiped the sweat from Yanmo's face and fed him some water, watching him start to tend to his wounds. She immediately felt that the child was strong. She wondered if the Salt Mountain people had not been attacked by the Xi people, whether Yanmo could have grown into a powerful warrior, perhaps reaching the 3rd rank. But now it was impossible, and Cao Ting's eyes fell on Yanmo's broken leg. No matter how strong a warrior was, once disabled, he might be downgraded or become a civilian. Although the property of warriors before relegation would not be taken away, civilians could not contribute more to the tribe. The tribe could not support extra slaves and families. Yanmo did not notice Cao Ting's sympathy, but he did not plan to remain a slave forever, waiting. Yanmo told Cao Ting that he had a small stone pot and used a stone knife as a scraper. He evenly applied rotten eucalyptus leaves to the wound. He asked Cao Ting to help him a little, assuring her it was simple and not to be afraid. He instructed her to grab his right leg firmly. Yanmo explained that he needed to connect the broken bones, but since the bones had been broken for some time and the flesh had shrunk, she needed to pull the flesh first. He told her to watch his head, and when he nodded, she should rotate his calf toward her until reaching the broken bone. Yanmo felt that Cao Ting did not understand at first, so he repeated the instructions 3 times until she hesitated. He breathed deeply and found a peeled wooden stick of the right size, stuffing it into his mouth. The young girl helped grip his right leg, and after taking 2 deep breaths, Yanmo prepared himself and nodded to Cao Ting. Cao Ting did not exert much force, as she dared not, but her strength was greater than Yanmo had expected, and the leg turned slightly. Yanmo bit the stick in his mouth and cried out in pain, but could not faint. As the skin was pulled apart, he straightened his leg bones and reconnected the broken bones as closely as possible. Applying eucalyptus leaf juice was not effective for healing the broken bone, but Yanmo knew it could at least reduce inflammation and stop the bleeding. He grabbed the wooden sticks and placed them on the left and right sides of the broken leg, fixing them securely and tying them tightly with straw. Yanmo's processing speed was quite fast. Although he had various problems and a difficult character, he possessed real skills, which made him an embarrassment to others and even more so to himself. When Yanmo treated himself, the teenager next to the priest came out of the dahi tent carrying a wooden stick and placed it into the fire pit to burn. He then entered the tent again with the burning wooden stick. After a while, screams pierced the sky, resonating far and wide. Yanmo's hand was tied tightly with the straw rope, and he vaguely smelled the burnt flesh. He paused briefly, but continued treating himself, hoping nothing worse would happen. Suddenly his right palm shone again. Yanmo opened his right palm and saw a message written there. Not saving a dying man increased his. The words disappeared after 5 seconds, replaced by another sentence stating that because his scum value exceeded 100 million points, he would be subjected to 8 rounds of torture, 1 per night, to avoid affecting his daily reformation. Yanmo cursed under his breath. He had a hunch that if he did not hurry to reduce his scum value, and if it passed another integer, maybe 10 or even 100, he would face new punishments, as the system would enforce them strictly. Yanmo's heart moved as he stared at Cao Ting and asked if she had been surprised by what he did. She nodded in response. Yanmo then explained the most basic method for treating fractures to Cao Ting, emphasizing that in future similar situations, especially minor fractures, she should perform emergency treatment like this. If wooden sticks were unavailable, she could use other hard objects such as slate or animal bones. As he spoke, Yanmo showed her the remaining wooden sticks. Yanmo recalled that he had once taken an intern and had a peculiar teaching style, much like with Cao Ting. He taught in the simplest way possible and never disliked students. Because he had not been very clever at the start, he hated students who wasted learning time and opportunities. For those who did not listen carefully, he remembered them individually but said nothing on the surface. If they failed to improve, he would eventually give them a knife to perform surgery, and they would still be clueless. Cao Ting clearly cherished this opportunity and listened attentively, nodding and learning seriously. She did not despise Yanmo despite their close ages. His treatment had already impressed her deeply, and she fully believed that Yanmo was a disciple of the Salt Mountain priests, hoping to learn healing methods from future priests. This was a blessing for her. A message appeared. Teaching one person how to perform first aid on fractures reduced Yanmo's scum value by 1 point, lowering it to 1,000,000,007. Yanmo verified this and smiled widely, though the reduction was small. After 5 seconds, another note appeared stating that each time the taught person successfully implemented the first aid method, the instructor could. Yanmo realized it was a pyramid scheme and expressed satisfaction, deciding to teach Kaoting more carefully. The remarks indicated she had to succeed for him to gain the reduction. Of course, Yanmo could not teach bone surgery through this simple method, but at least he could leave an impression on her mind and gradually teach her until she mastered it. He believed this place lacked knowledge and resolved to have Kaoting practice. Finally, Yanmo concluded that for relatively severe fractures like his own, such as Dahi's, where only one layer of skin needed connection, or in comminuted fractures, the surgery was more complicated. It involved removing and resetting bones, fixing blood vessels, and even then many complications could arise. Kaoting heard many unfamiliar terms and asked about aftermath. Yanmo explained that although wounds might heal, the limbs might not function as before. Broken arms could cause fingers to lose flexibility or grip strength. These outcomes were better than amputation, but surgery was impossible here due to lack of needles. Kaoting asked if he had seen anything similar. Yanmo drew the shape of a needle on the ground with a wooden stick, pointing out the pointed head. Kaoting then retrieved bone spurs and stone cones, explaining they could drill holes in skin and bones to make necklaces and tattoos like those worn by barren. Yanmo, integrating memories from the boy whose body he possessed, realized that necklaces and tattoos represented class status and social division of labor. Different tattoo lines and necklace styles were worn by different people, and misplacement was punished. Children and women without fighting power had no facial tattoos. Slaves bore slave tattoos on their backs or shoulders, which were burned out and replaced when resold, leaving repeated burn scars. Yanmo's face bore no tattoo, indicating he had not qualified as a first-rank warrior. Poor tattoo care could cause infection and fever. His master had not rushed to brand him, likely because of his illness and fear of causing harm. Yanmo planned to speak with Yuan Zhan upon his return to see if the tattoo branding could be delayed. Once labeled a slave, Yanmo wanted to escape slavery, but without military power reaching third-rank warrior level, Yanmo called Yuan Zhan a kid, reflecting his own age of 39 at death and his old man mentality. He was uncertain how much leg function he would recover and lacked confidence in improving his military value, especially since he had been a mental and technical worker. Yanmo urgently asked Kaoting to fetch a piece of animal skin. Seeing the priest disciples emerge from the Dahi tent, he quickly pushed along the grassy road. Kaoting entered Yuan Zhan's tent and retrieved scrap skin. Yanmo took the animal skin, regardless of cleanliness, and tied it tightly around his injured leg while lying on the ground. Kaoting, understanding immediately, pushed the boy back and knelt before the injured leg to tighten the binding. 5 men and the priest strode past them, with the priest disciple wrapped in beast skin walking last. As they passed, the disciple glanced at them and stopped, kicking Kaoting. He asked about the contents of the pot. Kaoting looked at the small stone pot in horror and replied that it contained a type of weedy grass. The disciple then inquired about its use. Kaoting suddenly approached the priest disciple and looked up at him. He snorted and left without a word. Kaoting knelt with her head on the ground until the priest walked out of sight. Then she slowly lifted it. Yanmo's fists gradually relaxed, and Kaoting's compassion had saved him once again. Yanmo felt sincere gratitude toward this sister. Kaoting turned back and patted her hair, sadness flickering in her eyes. She revealed that she had 2 younger brothers and a younger sister. One brother had died, and the remaining 2 were sold to other tribes. Yanmo resembled her deceased older brother. Yanmo expressed hope that Kaoting might meet her siblings again someday. Kaoting wished for the same, not expecting to reunite with her younger brothers in the future. When Yuan Zhan returned with 2 animals resembling large voles, Yanmo was still lying at the door of his tent. Kaoting had already been called back by her master to prepare dinner. Yuan Zhan had not given permission for Yanmo to be moved into the tent, so Kaoting dared not move him. Yanmo did not remain idle by the water tank. When alone, he took the opportunity to call out the catalog of the Banish Guide. The guide contained 6 records in total. The first article detailed the use of the Banishment Guide. The second article covered the Guide to the Reconstruction of Biological Biology. The third article explained the Geography and Hydrological Guide for the Reconstruction Site. The fourth article contained Excavation Banish Guide questions and answers. The fifth article was special guidelines that could not be displayed before certain conditions were met. The sixth article listed penalties and rewards. Yanmo remained calm, but felt a slight excitement upon seeing the second and third articles. Knowing these points meant that even if he could not pretend to be omniscient or godlike, he could at least support himself without problem. However, his excitement was quickly crushed after opening the guide further. To use the second article, he had to reduce his scum value by 100 points. To use the third article, he needed to reduce it by 1,000 points. Additionally, the guide would not promptly suggest consulting it. Each time it revealed knowledge, Yanmo's scum value would increase based on the importance. The fourth article was even more cruel. It could only be asked 3 times, and although it did not increase the scum value, each question required biting his finger and using the bleeding fingertip to write the question on the Q&A page. Regarding the fifth article, the guide only stated that conditions must be met before it could be displayed, without specifying what those conditions were. Yanmo was most interested in the sixth article, but when the guide showed the reward list, it was a blank page. He wondered if this meant there was no reward or if the conditions had not been met. He commanded the guide to show the punishment rules. The guide flipped pages and displayed the following. When the banished is banished, the scum value must never exceed 100 million points. If it does, the banished will be forced to accept penalties based on the increase in scum. After the scum value falls below 100 million, if it increases by 10 points, the banished must accept a small punishment. If it increases by more than 100 points at once, the reason for the increase is applied. Yanmo forcibly suppressed his anger and resentment, grabbed a wooden thorn, and poked the tip of his left middle finger. He called out the Q&A page, squeezed out blood, and tried to write questions. However, no matter how he touched his fingers, the blood gathered and formed drops on his palm instead of the fingertip. He could not write. He was furious that such precious blood was wasted. The book ignored him and did not respond, no matter how many times he asked. Extremely angry, Yanmo tried to calm himself with deep breaths and examined the guide's explanation of the fourth article more closely. It stated that each question required biting the finger. He realized the guide was bullying him, as biting his own finger was far more painful than poking it. Helpless, he knew he could not bargain with such a rigid system and bit his left middle finger. He asked what he could get if his scum value was 0. The guide quickly answered that he would get what he wanted most, but only one option. Yanmo pondered what he desired most and what could still be used. A small figure appeared in his mind with innocent big eyes full of trust. Whenever Yanmo returned, the figure would drop everything, stumble over, pull his arm, slam his thigh against his, and lean back on his head, softly pleading for a hug. Yanmo suddenly covered his eyes, begging not to be lied to. He was willing to believe in change if only he was not deceived. A big man kicked him lightly and scolded him for crying, refusing to give him more meat. Yanmo silently wiped his tears and rubbed his arm, feeling the pain deeply. 2 large rabbit-like animals were thrown at him. Yuan Zhan asked if Yanmo could move and ordered him to peel the skin carefully, warning that breaking the skin would result in death. Slaves had no basic human rights, even those who were immobile and hungry for 2 days. Yanmo's original body would not peel anything, but this body would. The 2 large furry animals had little blood. Their necks were twisted and mouths bleeding, likely drained by someone else. Yuan Zhan kicked the stone knife in front of him, noticing little water remained in the water tank. He frowned, poured the remaining water into a stone pot and threw it into the... Then he picked up the stone bowl and left. Yanmo thought to himself that no wonder there was no wooden barrel here. Everyone used stone bowls to fill the water tanks, which must be quite a challenge.